Millionaire husband brings mistress to exclusive gala, and pregnant wife exposes him on stage. Welcome, everyone. Today's story is a whirlwind of secrets, heartbreak, and ultimate retribution, set against the glitzy backdrop of the Waldorf Astoria in New York City. Our protagonist is a devoted wife on the verge of motherhood, while her wealthy husband hides a web of betrayal beneath his polished facade. Sparks fly when he dares to bring his mistress to an exclusive charity gala, and the pregnant wife makes a choice that will shake high society to its core. This is a tale of love and lies, ambition and revenge, and how karma doesn't simply knock, it breaks down the door. Cassandra Montgomery's life appeared to outsiders like a fairy tale plucked straight from the pages of a glossy magazine. She lived with her husband, Dylan Montgomery, in a lavish penthouse overlooking Central Park. Dylan's success story had become almost mythical in certain circles. He was an investor who'd founded a boutique finance firm that quickly expanded, culminating in eye-watering investment returns and a near-dynastic fortune. People said he was a self-made man, although rumors always whispered about hush-hush partnerships and unexplained windfalls. For Cassandra, a small-town girl from Vermont who'd once thought her dream was to simply open a cozy bed and breakfast, being catapulted into the world of Manhattan's elite took more than a little adjusting. She had to master polite conversation at extravagant dinner parties, learn which forks to use at multi-course charity banquets, and memorize the genealogies of everyone who was anyone in that gilded sphere. However, through it all, she prided herself on staying humble, remembering her roots, and maintaining a sense of compassion that set her apart. She wasn't interested in social climbing. She'd fallen in love with Dylan before he was minted as a top-tier millionaire. Back then, he was an ambitious young man with a spark in his eyes and a willingness to do whatever it took to succeed. But in the past year, Cassandra had felt the tectonic plates of her marriage shifting. Arguments that once ended in laughter and a kiss now stretched across days. Affectionate notes or fleeting glances were replaced by uncomfortable silence. Cassandra tried to attribute these changes to the stress Dylan faced as a high-profile businessman. Like so many, she believed that once they got through this patch, their relationship would grow stronger. When she discovered she was pregnant, she thought it was the beacon of hope they both needed, a new beginning. Little did she know it would become the catalyst for an unraveling. The phone calls that he took in another room, the dinners he claimed were with important clients, but never quite lined up with his official schedule. The gift receipts for diamond bracelets that never ended up in her jewelry box. Cassandra had begun collecting these red flags like puzzle pieces, each new piece forming an unmistakable mosaic of betrayal. Yet, out of loyalty or fear, she couldn't say which, she hesitated to confront him directly. Instead, she tried to hold on to the life she had built, hoping she was misreading the signs. That all changed the night she found a lipstick-stained handkerchief hidden in the glove compartment of Dylan's Bentley. It wasn't her lipstick shade, not even close. She favored subtle pink tints, while this was a bold, passionate red. The discovery ignited something in Cassandra. Perhaps it was the maternal instincts that come with pregnancy. She felt compelled to protect the future of her unborn child. She decided then and there she wouldn't be meek or complacent any longer. She would face the possibility that her husband was having an affair, gather proof, and then decide how to act. If Dylan was deceiving her, she intended to confront him on her terms, in a manner that would ensure she and her child would no longer suffer from his lies. The tension between them grew taut as Cassandra subtly watched Dylan's every move. She learned to read his suspiciously vague text messages over his shoulder. She took mental notes of the nights he claimed were business emergencies and found ways to verify his whereabouts. She gathered details about unexplained credit card charges, especially at luxury boutiques. During one such investigation, she discovered a pricey purchase at an upscale lingerie store. Cassandra never wore that brand. She didn't even know what it was called until she saw the receipt. Agent Provocateur. Her cheeks burned, and she realized there was no more room for denial. If Dylan was going to continue in his betrayal, then she would orchestrate the perfect moment for her revenge. When the invitation arrived for an exclusive charity gala at the Waldorf Astoria, Cassandra felt an eerie sense of fate. The event was hosted by Dylan's close business allies to support underprivileged youth. The guest list read like a who's who of high finance, with mega celebrities and philanthropic superstars peppered in. It would be a grand affair, replete with a silent auction, champagne towers, and at least 2 red carpet entrances. If Dylan was going to flaunt his mistress anywhere, it would be at a spectacularly public event with society's elite. Cassandra received her invitation in the mail, complete with gold lettering and the seal of the organizing committee. The date was set for 2 weeks away, and she decided she would attend no matter what. She was prepared for any reaction. For the first time in her life, Cassandra felt a clarity that sliced through the confusion. She would expose him. But she needed to make sure Dylan gave her the perfect stage. She had to bait him into bringing his mistress, if not openly, then at least discreetly. So, she adopted a strategy. She feigned indifference. She began by pulling back from him emotionally. No questions about where he was going, no nagging about who he was with, no scheduling conflicts. She kept her distance, enough to let him believe he was in control. She dressed more casually, no longer wearing the clothes he bought her. She canceled fancy spa appointments and spent time on philanthropic work with a local children's shelter, channeling her heartbreak into giving back. Where she'd previously tried to invite him to prenatal checkups, she now simply went alone, carrying her unborn child with dignity and pride. She let him roam, fully expecting him to slip deeper into his routine of duplicity. And that's precisely what happened. From subtle conversations, she soon learned that Dylan was, in fact, planning to attend the Waldorf Astoria Gala with a close friend, a woman she hadn't met, but suspected was the infamous Mistress. One of Cassandra's reliable confidants, Amanda Reed, an old college friend who now managed PR for multiple wealthy clients, caught wind of Dylan RSVPing for 2. She discreetly confirmed with Cassandra that a second name was listed on the guest pass, though it wasn't the wife's. Amanda promised to keep quiet, but made it known she was in Cassandra's corner if needed. That single confirmation was all Cassandra required. Her next step was planning how she would expose him. She had considered confronting him in private, but that felt too small. She wanted to tear the mask off, to end the charade so definitively that there would be no space for doubt or further manipulation. This man, whom she had adored, trusted with her life, and chosen to be the father of her child, had betrayed her. He deserved a stage where he would learn the true meaning of consequences. It had to be on that gala night, in front of the people who idolized him. Because if Dylan thrived on admiration and prestige, then the ultimate blow to his ego would be to lose face in front of his entire network. Cassandra spent the remaining 2 weeks quietly assembling her plan. She gathered all her evidence: photographs from suspicious nights out, credit card statements, text messages she'd forwarded to her personal email, even the lipstick-stained handkerchief. She created duplicates and shared them with Amanda for safekeeping. Should anything happen to Cassandra or her property, she wanted the truth to come to light anyway. She also timed her final prenatal checkups to ensure she wasn't endangering herself or the baby with the stress of what she planned to do. Her doctor, kindly Dr. Rosenberg, reminded her that stress levels could affect her pregnancy, urging her to take care of herself first. Cassandra forced a smile, assuring Dr. Rosenberg she'd be careful. Inside, she was like a tempest raging in the ocean, unstoppable, determined to protect her child's future. With each passing day, she felt more certain that the man she once knew was a ghost, replaced by someone far more ruthless. Perhaps he'd always been this way, and she had just been blinded by love. Regardless of the truth, she refused to be one of those women who stood by while her husband brazenly dishonored her. She wasn't going to let her child grow up in a family built on illusions and lies. The day of the gala arrived. Cassandra spent the morning in silent reflection, walking slowly around their penthouse, each step reminding her of the calm before storm. She closed her eyes for a moment and imagined her unborn child's future, a life free from the toxicity that had invaded her marriage. She exhaled shakily, opened her eyes, and prepared for the most important evening of her life. The Waldorf Astoria shimmered against the early evening sky, a beacon of opulence in the heart of Manhattan. Limousines, Rolls-Royces, and sleek black town cars lined up at the red carpet, each discharging an array of socialites in glittering gowns, high-powered businessmen in tailored suits, and celebrities flashing million-dollar smiles. Photographers jostled for position behind velvet ropes, desperate for the best shots to grace tomorrow's society pages and viral social media posts. Cassandra arrived separately, deliberately choosing to come a bit later than the advertised start time so that most guests, including Dylan, would already be inside. She stepped out her rented car, not wanting to rely on the family driver. The paparazzi turned their cameras on her, momentarily unsure who she was until they recognized her as Dylan Montgomery's wife, a social figure in her own right. Their shouts erupted. "Mrs. Montgomery, over here. Are you meeting your husband inside? Is it true you're expecting?" She paused briefly, giving a small, graceful wave. Though her baby bump was elegantly concealed beneath a custom gown, an exquisite piece from a local designer friend, not from Dylan's favored high-end labels, her pregnancy glow was undeniable. She felt her heart pound, but she steadied her nerves. She wasn't there for the cameras. She was there for one reason only, to unmask Dylan in the most spectacular way possible. Inside, the grand ballroom was a feast for the senses. Towering flower arrangements adorned tables set with crystal stemware and fine silver. A live orchestra played a classical waltz in the background, and the hush of polite conversation filled the spaces between music. Everything sparkled, from the chandeliers to the diamond-studded shoes of the guests. Waiters circled with silver trays of champagne, flutes, and canapes. The event's theme, "The Future of Our Children," was emblazoned above the stage on a golden banner. Cassandra's eyes scanned over the crowd until she finally spotted him. Dylan Montgomery, all 6 feet of charismatic swagger, holding court with 3 or 4 wealthy associates near the side of the stage. He was impeccably dressed in a tailored black tuxedo. Beside him stood a striking brunette, wearing a crimson gown that clung to her every curve. Her lips matched the color of her dress with eerie precision, the same shade Cassandra had seen on that handkerchief. She caught the woman's face in profile and recognized the harsh lines of arrogance around her mouth. She was no naive fling. This was someone who wanted to be seen with Dylan, who relished the power it granted her. Rage, betrayal, heartbreak, these emotions simmered beneath Cassandra's calm exterior. She breathed in slowly, reminding herself that exposing him was not only about vengeance. It was about closure and liberation for her and her unborn child. This was the night to end the illusions. She spotted Amanda Reed in the crowd, who gave her a subtle nod. Their plan was set. Before she could make her move, she saw Dylan glance around and notice her. The moment their eyes locked, his face betrayed a flicker of shock and, more disturbingly, annoyance. He excused himself from the group and made his way toward her, leaving his mistress behind. Cassandra smiled sweetly at him as he approached, though her heart was pounding like a drum. "You came," he said stiffly, scanning her gown as if verifying she had dressed appropriately for the event he hadn't even bothered to officially invite her to attend. "I didn't think you were feeling well." She raised an eyebrow. "Feeling unwell?" "I'm fine," she replied, placing a hand on her small baby bump. "It's a special evening, isn't it? I wanted to support the cause, and you." His gaze shifted to the crowd, aware of the watchful eyes. "Yes, well, it's quite the turnout. Why don't we mingle?" "No need," Cassandra said pointedly. "I've already said my hellos. Actually, I'm excited for the stage announcements. You're one of guest speakers tonight, right?" Dylan nodded, still eyeing her warily. He hadn't expected her to show up, and certainly not in such poised confidence. "Yes, I'll be making a short speech to open the main event. It's just a 5-minute welcome address." Cassandra nodded and continued to beam a polite smile. "I wouldn't miss it for the world." Her eyes darted behind him where the brunette lingered, watching them. Cassandra recognized the woman's expression. She was trying to size up the wife, gauge the threat. Cassandra offered the woman a gracious nod. "Won't you introduce me to your companion, Dylan?" For a moment, Dylan looked like a deer in headlights. He quickly recovered, though. "Oh, that's just a business associate, Carmen Brooks. She's new to the circle." "I'll introduce you later," he said with an unconvincing cheerfulness. "Let's get you a seat." When Dylan stepped away to greet another cluster of investors, Cassandra made her way discreetly across the ballroom. She found Amanda near the silent auction tables, which displayed items ranging from fine art to exotic vacation packages. Amanda, dark-haired and dressed in a sleek black gown, had the practiced grace of someone used to navigating these glittering circles. "Is everything set?" Cassandra asked softly, glancing around to ensure no one overheard. Amanda handed her a discreet remote clicker. "Yes, the tech guys think it's for a charity slideshow you might be presenting. They have the file queued up as planned photos, documents, the works. Once Dylan starts speaking, we'll switch the feed from the teleprompter to your slides. All you have to do is press that button. Don't forget your microphone. It's hidden by stage left. Ask any staff member for it, and they'll hand it to you because they think you're the co-presenter. You have about half an hour before his speech." Cassandra took the device and exhaled in relief. She and Amanda had decided not to alert the official event organizers to their true intentions. They had simply requested a short presentation slot, claiming Cassandra wished to surprise her husband with a philanthropic initiative. The charity committee was thrilled by the prospect of another high-profile donation, so they gave the green light without asking too many questions. Her plan was straightforward yet devastating. As soon as Dylan began his speech, Cassandra would take the stage from the other side calmly, microphone in hand, and intercept the teleprompter feed with the slideshow, exposing his affair. She would present the evidence to the entire room, culminating in a final reveal that she was carrying his child. The blow would be public, humiliating, and in her mind, justified. But as with any carefully laid plan, unpredictability lurked in the corners. Cassandra felt her nerves twist. She worried about how Dylan might react. Would he become violent or try to gaslight her in front of everyone? She also wondered if the shock might be too much for her pregnancy. Yet, the desire for truth outweighed her fears. She reminded herself that sometimes you have to burn bridges to light your way forward. The evening progressed, filled with the clink of champagne glasses and hushed bidding wars of the silent auction tables. Speakers took turns on stage to highlight the achievements of the charitable foundation, share heartwarming stories, and encourage more donations. Cassandra observed Dylan from a distance. She watched as he stood beside Carmen, his hand grazing the small of the brunette's back every now and then. Outwardly, he maintained the facade of a perfect gentleman. Inwardly, Cassandra was sure he was already scheming how to do damage control if Cassandra confronted him. But little did he know the scale of her revelations. Finally, an MC in a crisp suit took the microphone at the center of the stage. "Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you've all been enjoying your evening. We've raised a significant amount already for our cause, so thank you. But before we continue, we have a very special address. It is my pleasure to introduce one of our most notable benefactors and a leading figure in finance, Mr. Dylan Montgomery." Polite applause swelled through the ballroom, and Dylan, flashing a winning smile, walked up the short staircase onto the stage. Cassandra could see the pride in his face, and behind it, that supreme confidence that had once attracted her, but now filled her with a sense of dread and anger. She looked at Amanda, who nodded, handing her a small, discreet microphone. Cassandra's pulse pounded in her ears. The moment had arrived. Dylan began speaking, his voice practiced and resonant. "Thank you everyone for your generosity tonight. I've always believed that if fortune smiles upon us, we have a responsibility to pay it forward." Cassandra made her move. She slipped behind the heavy stage curtain on the left, found the tech assistant who had the projector controls, and whispered that she would take over for a special surprise segment. The assistant, unaware of the real plan, grinned and nodded. "Just press the button and you're good to go, Mrs. Montgomery," he whispered. "I'll handle the rest." Dylan continued. "The children who benefit from this organization are the future, and every donation here tonight, large or small, helps to secure their opportunity at a better life." Polite applause. He took a sip of water. "And so, without further ado, I'd like to invite my wife." He hesitated. Cassandra froze for a millisecond. She hadn't expected him to call on her. She wasn't sure if he was trying to be magnanimous or if he was just following a script. Either way, it was too perfect. Cassandra stepped onto the stage, microphone in hand. The stage lights were bright, momentarily disorienting her, but she forced herself to continue. She smiled at the audience, shifting her gaze from Dylan to the sea of onlookers. There was a muted gasp from the audience. They knew something big was about to happen. Carmen stood near the front, her expression momentarily masked by confusion. "Good evening, everyone," Cassandra said, her voice amplified throughout the massive hall. "I apologize for interrupting my husband's speech, but we have a little surprise presentation to share, don't we, Dylan?" He cleared his throat, obviously taken aback, but tried to project calm. "Yes, of course, we want to thank you all again for..." She pressed the button. In an instant, the teleprompter script vanished from the projector screen behind them, replaced by the first slide. A photo of Dylan and Carmen entering a luxury hotel, arms wrapped around each other. The hush that fell upon the audience was so profound, Cassandra could hear her own heartbeat echo in her ears. She saw Dylan's face contort, switching from confusion to alarm. But she wasn't done. She pressed the remote button again. The next slides featured a flurry of images. Receipts for expensive jewelry, restaurant bills for intimate dinners, that damning photo of a lipstick-stained handkerchief. Each piece of evidence hammered home the truth. Dylan was carrying on a blatant affair with the woman he had introduced as a business associate. People began murmuring. Several guests looked away, embarrassed by the spectacle. Others watched with rapt fascination, drawn to the unfolding drama like moths to a flame. Dylan lunged for the remote, but Cassandra stepped back, adrenaline surging. Security guards shifted awkwardly, uncertain whether to intervene in a spat between a husband and wife, especially such high-profile benefactors. Amanda discreetly took pictures of the entire fiasco from the side, ensuring a permanent record of Dylan's meltdown. "Cassandra, stop!" Dylan hissed, forcibly taking hold of her wrist. But she yanked herself free. "Don't you dare touch me." Her voice reverberated through the speakers. She turned to the audience, business magnates, celebrities, philanthropic leaders. "I'm sorry you all have to witness this, but let's be honest, you have to see who Dylan Montgomery really is. He's been parading around as a loyal husband while betraying the very vows he pretends to uphold. And I haven't even told you the best part." She paused, letting the tension thicken. Carmen stood up, looking mortified, on the verge of fleeing. Dylan's face was crimson, a mixture of fury and desperation. "I'm pregnant with his child," Cassandra continued. "He's ignored every sign that I needed him, that our baby needed him. Instead, he's taking business trips with her, spending hundreds of thousands of dollars while I'm left at home to face my prenatal appointments alone." A shocked silence. Then the audience erupted in whispers and gasps. Camera phones flashed, capturing images that would soon flood social media. The philanthropic event had transformed into a scandalous spectacle, and there was no turning back. Cassandra looked Dylan straight in the eyes. "You wanted to show the world your generosity tonight. Let's see how you handle generosity when you're forced to pay for the real consequences of your actions." Before Dylan could respond, Cassandra turned on her heel and walked off the stage, leaving him alone under the piercing glare of the spotlight, amid the hushed, judging eyes of Manhattan's elite. The crowd's initial shock made time feel slow and thick, as though everyone in the grand ballroom stood suspended between outrage and perverse fascination. Once Cassandra exited the stage, a chaotic murmur filled the air. Half the people wanted to chase after her to offer comfort or glean more gossip, while the other half stayed transfixed on Dylan. He stood there, microphone in hand, his carefully composed facade now disintegrating. Carmen seemed frozen in place, her cheeks bright red, and her eyes darting around in panic, as though searching for an exit strategy that wouldn't brand her a coward. Out of sheer reflex, Dylan tried to recapture control. "Ladies and gentlemen," he began, voice cracking. I'm sorry for that unexpected display. My wife is obviously distressed. This is a personal matter, and I hope you will respect our privacy during this difficult time." He quickly signaled to the event's MC to resume the scheduled programming. The MC, pale-faced and flustered, stammered an attempt at normalcy, thanking the audience for their contributions and encouraging them to continue enjoying the evening. But the energy in the room was irreversible. The illusions of the night had shattered, replaced by an unspoken condemnation of the man at the center of the scandal. Some guests whispered among themselves. Others quietly slipped out, not wanting to be complicit in the humiliating fiasco. Amanda found Cassandra in a side hallway near the restrooms, leaning against the marble wall, tears brimming but not yet falling. She clutched her abdomen protectively, as if to reassure the child growing within. Amanda rushed over, pulling her into a gentle embrace. "Oh, Cass," she said, "that was so brave and so intense. Are you okay?" Cassandra exhaled shakily. "I had to do it. My baby deserves better. But I don't know. Everything is happening too fast." Amanda dabbed away Cassandra's tears with a tissue. "You did what you had to do. Don't let guilt eat at you now. Dylan was the one who forced your hand." Cassandra nodded, determined to stay strong. "Let's leave. I can't stay in this building another minute." They weaved through the corridor to a discreet side exit to avoid the press, who had likely begun to swarm the main entrance. Before they could slip out, a voice echoed from behind them. "Cassandra, wait." She turned to see Dylan rushing toward her, face a mixture of desperation and anger. Carmen was nowhere to be seen, presumably slinking away in an effort to evade the paparazzi's glare. Amanda positioned herself protectively in front of Cassandra, but Dylan held up his hands in a gesture of surrender. "I just want to talk to my wife," he said. 5 minutes, please." Cassandra waved Amanda aside, albeit reluctantly. "It's okay. I'll hear him out," she said quietly. Amanda stood just a few steps away, arms crossed, ready to intervene if necessary. Dylan inhaled, trying to steady himself. "Why did you have to do that? You've ruined everything. My business relationships, my reputation. This entire event was about helping children, for God's sake." Cassandra's lips trembled with suppressed emotion. "Helping children? You have a child on the way, Dylan, one you've conveniently neglected while gallivanting with." She swallowed hard, trying to contain her fury. "You gave me no choice. I'm tired of your lies, your affairs, your arrogance. I won't let you bury this under another layer of cover-ups. You always told me the public image of our marriage mattered. Well, now the public has the truth." He reached for her hand, but she snatched it away. "Cass, I know I messed up. I'm sorry, but we can fix this. My PR team will spin it." "Stop," she said sharply. "This is not about PR or spin. This is about betrayal and our unborn child. I'm filing for divorce, Dylan. I should have done it the moment I suspected you were cheating." The color drained from his face. "Divorce? But think about the baby. Think about the business. You said yourself you wanted a family. You wanted stability." Cassandra's voice trembled with a depth of pain and certainty that left no room for doubt. "I didn't want a family, a real one. I deserve more than you sneaking around with your mistress, humiliating me behind closed doors. So yes, I'll have stability, but not with you." Dylan's jaw tightened. "You can't just end it like this. There's a prenup, Cassandra. There are financial details. We need to talk to lawyers. This can't be undone on a whim." She let out a derisive laugh. "A whim? Finding out the man I love has been sleeping with someone else while I'm pregnant is not a whim. I'm not an idiot. I've been preparing. I have all the evidence I need to ensure you don't leave me destitute. And given your wonderful display of morality, I'm pretty confident the court will grant me a favorable settlement. Prenup or not, the public scandal alone might pressure you to pay more just to save face." Dylan opened his mouth to protest, but Amanda stepped forward, placing a firm hand on his chest. "That's enough," she said quietly. "You've said your piece. Walk away." His eyes flickered between them. He looked as if he wanted to protest further, but the weight of the disaster forced him to back down. Shoulders slumped, he turned and disappeared into the chaos of the main ballroom, where he'd have to face donors, board members, and the fallout of Cassandra's revelation. Cassandra felt a hollow ache in her chest as she watched him go. Despite her anger, Part of her still grieved the man she once believed he was. Amanda slipped an arm around Cassandra's shoulders. "Let's get you out of here," she whispered. Cassandra nodded, tears finally spilling down her cheeks. Together, they stepped out into the cool night air, leaving behind the glittering facade of the Waldorf Astoria and the shards of a marriage that had shattered irreparably. Outside, a handful of paparazzi had gathered at the side exit, snapping pictures and shouting questions. Amanda shielded Cassandra as best as she could. A hired car pulled up, and they slid into the back seat, the driver pulling away from the curb in one smooth motion. As the bright lights of Manhattan streamed past, Cassandra sank into the leather seat, exhaustion overtaking her adrenaline. She placed a hand over her abdomen, silently apologizing to her baby for all the turmoil. In that moment, she vowed to be stronger than ever before, to provide a life free from the shadows of infidelity, greed, and selfishness. She glanced at Amanda, who gave her a supportive, almost sisterly smile. "I'm proud of you," Amanda said softly. "You did the right thing." Cassandra offered the faintest smile in return. "Thank you. I don't feel proud right now. I feel broken. But I'll heal. We'll heal." In her mind, Cassandra replayed the chaotic scene in the ballroom. Dylan's stunned face, Carmen's wide-eyed horror, the hush of the crowd. She reflected on how quickly the glamorous illusions of high society could unravel when confronted by unvarnished truth. Despite the heartbreak, a sense of liberation threaded through her sorrow. She had seized control of her narrative. No longer would she be a silent victim in Dylan's life story. From now on, she would be the one writing her own. In the days that followed, news of the scandal spread across social media and various tabloids like wildfire. Headlines blared. High society showdown. Cassandra Montgomery exposes husband's affair. Charity Gala gone wrong. And betrayed wife drops bombshell at Waldorf Astoria. Talk show hosts dissected the event with gleeful scrutiny, while gossip websites churned out rumors about Carmen's identity and Dylan's alleged past affairs. Initially, Dylan's PR team tried to spin the situation. They released a carefully worded statement claiming the Montgomerys were working through a private family matter and urging the media to respect their confidentiality. But the statement rang hollow in the face of Cassandra's very public expose. Moreover, photos of Dylan with Carmen holding hands in restaurant booths or exiting posh hotels were already circulating. The disclaimers about unverified allegations held little credibility. Cassandra, meanwhile, found a peculiar solace in the media storm. It validated her story. She didn't have to convince anyone of the truth. It was plain for the world to see. Still, she was hounded by reporters who camped outside her penthouse, hoping for an interview or a tearful confrontation. She refused all interview requests. Instead, she focused on stabilizing her emotional health and preparing for the legal battles ahead. Her first step was to hire a reputable divorce attorney, a woman named Claire Park who specialized in high-profile cases. Meeting in Claire's sleek midtown office, Cassandra laid out her evidence: the financial records, text messages, paparazzi photos, everything that corroborated Dylan's infidelity and negligence toward her prenatal needs. Claire nodded approvingly. "We have a strong case for a favorable settlement, child support, and potentially more, depending on the nuance of your prenup. You also have public sympathy, which can be leveraged." Cassandra couldn't help but smirk at the notion of leveraging public sympathy. She'd spent so long navigating a world where image was currency. Now, ironically, she could use that same currency to secure her and her child's future. "I'm not doing this to get more money," she clarified. "I just want to make sure my child is provided for, and I want to teach Dylan that he can't use people like disposable accessories." Claire gave her a measured smile. "I understand, but it's good strategy nonetheless." Legal proceedings moved faster than Cassandra had anticipated. Dylan's team, desperate to mitigate further public damage, tried to push for a private settlement. They offered a significant lump sum plus monthly support on the condition that Cassandra sign a non-disclosure agreement prohibiting her from discussing the affair publicly or writing any tell-all pieces. Cassandra refused. She wouldn't muzzle herself to preserve Dylan's ego any longer. "Don't let them corner you," Amanda advised when Cassandra discussed the offer over a cup of tea in her cozy living room. "They know you have the upper hand right now, so they'll try to buy your silence." "I won't be silenced," Cassandra declared, a note of finality in her voice. The stress of the media attention and the divorce was enormous. But strangely, Cassandra felt lighter than she had in months. No more hiding, no more internal agonies. She was free to shape her future, albeit a daunting one. She maintained her prenatal appointments, focusing on the life growing inside her. Dr. Rosenberg, aware of the situation through the ubiquitous tabloids, approached her with sensitivity. "Your blood pressure is a bit high," Dr. Rosenberg noted gently during one checkup. "I understand the circumstances are stressful, but please take care of yourself. Elevated stress can lead to complications." Cassandra promised to prioritize rest and meditation, though part of her braced for further upheaval. She knew Dylan well enough to suspect he wouldn't let her exit gracefully. Underneath his polished facade was a deeply insecure man who would lash out to protect his reputation and wealth. The tabloids soon validated her fears. Rumors surfaced that Dylan was freezing Cassandra's bank accounts, or that he was preparing a countersuit alleging she had defamed him. But none of these threats materialized publicly yet. Meanwhile, Carmen tried to salvage her own standing. She released a statement through her lawyer insisting she deeply regretted any pain caused and that her relationship with Dylan had been misinterpreted. The public found her claims laughable. She became a pariah in elite circles. Word spread that invitations to high-profile events were quietly rescinded, and even her career prospects, whatever they had been, diminished. She was tainted by the scandal and, by extension, Dylan's disgrace. But Dylan faced the most severe professional consequences. Some of his major investors, spooked by the negative press, began pulling out funds from his firm. Affiliations with philanthropic boards were quietly suspended or outright terminated. After all, no children's charity wanted to be associated with a man whose betrayal overshadowed their cause. His financial empire wobbled. Stocks in his investment fund dipped, and business partners demanded answers about his judgment and reliability. In a last-ditch effort to quell the meltdown, Dylan made a move Cassandra hadn't anticipated. He tried to contact her directly, day after day, leaving desperate voicemails. When she didn't respond, he showed up at the penthouse, banging on the door. Cassandra, from inside, ordered building security not to let him in. This pattern continued until one evening when she returned from a prenatal class to find Dylan waiting outside her building. His eyes were hollow and red-rimmed, his expensive suit rumpled. He looked like a man fraying at the edges. "Cass," he pleaded, stepping toward her. She remained still, though her heart hammered. "Please, just 5 minutes. I need to talk. Really talk." She exhaled, her breath fogging in the chilly Manhattan air. After a moment's hesitation, she nodded at the doorman to let him follow her into the lobby. They settled in a quiet corner near a decorative fireplace, the warm glow contrasting with the chill between them. "I know you have no reason to believe me," Dylan began, voice trembling. "But I'm sorry. I made a huge mistake. Me ego, me desires. They got the better of me. But Cass, I swear if I could take it all back." She cut him off. Don't try to rewrite history. You knew exactly what you were doing, and you've been caught. That's all there is to it." He grimaced, nodding slowly. "I know, but I also know we were in love once, and I still love you. I still want to be a father to this baby. Maybe we could do a trial separation, figure out if—" "Stop." Cassandra's voice was steel. "You love the idea of me, Dylan. You love what I represented. Your sweet wife, the perfect mother. But that's not love. Love is loyalty, honesty, respect. You betrayed every bit of that." He bowed his head. "I know, but the baby will have a father if you choose to step up," Cassandra said, tears threatening to spill. "But that father will no longer be my husband." She rose from her chair. "I'm done. Contact me through my attorney if you need anything. Our child deserves support, but I deserve peace." Dylan's eyes glistened, a fleeting vulnerability crossing his features. I'm losing everything, he whispered. Cassandra felt a twinge of pity, remembering the dreamer she'd once admired. But pity wasn't enough to mend the chasm he had created. She turned, walking away without looking back. As she rode the elevator up, she felt an odd mix of heartbreak and resolve. The boyish Dylan, who used to bring her daisies from a street vendor, had transformed into a hollow man consumed by ambition and indulgence. She refused to let him drag her into the quicksand of his ruin. When the elevator doors opened to her penthouse floor, Amanda was there waiting, having arrived earlier. She offered a comforting hug, as if she sensed what had transpired. "You look exhausted." "I'm okay," Cassandra replied softly, though her voice trembled. "Just some closure, maybe." Amanda led her inside, helping her into a seat and bringing a glass of water. "Closure is good. You need rest." Cassandra nodded, sipping water. She stroked her belly gently, whispering to her baby. "We'll be okay," she murmured. "We'll be just fine." And for the first time in weeks, she believed it. The unraveling of Dylan Montgomery's empire accelerated at breakneck speed. In the weeks following the gala, several key clients of his boutique finance firm withdrew their investments due to moral and reputational concerns. Rumors circulated that the Securities and Exchange Commission was taking a closer look at Dylan's financial dealings, prodded by whistleblowers who claimed they had witnessed questionable accounting practices. More than just gossip, the investigation gained traction, culminating in a formal inquiry. Cassandra learned all of this through business news segments and acquaintances in the industry. Each piece of bad news about Dylan felt like a bitter validation. She took no glee in his downfall, but recognized it as the natural consequence of a life built on deception and ethical gray areas. Indeed, it was as if the universe had decided to serve Dylan a dose of cosmic retribution karma, swift and unrelenting. "Did you hear?" Amanda asked one afternoon, phone in hand, eyes wide. They just announced Dylan was forced to step down as CEO of his own firm. Some investor group took over majority shares. He's effectively been ousted. Cassandra released a long, unsteady breath. She had expected a collapse, but hadn't guessed it would be so public and merciless. "What do you think he'll do now?" she asked. Amanda shrugged. "The news says he's facing civil lawsuits. A few charitable organizations are also suing him for misappropriation of donated funds." She paused. "He really sank himself, Cass." Cassandra's phone buzzed. It was a text from Claire, her attorney. It read, "Dylan's team is revising the settlement proposal. Much more favorable terms for you. Seems they're desperate." She looked up at Amanda. "They want to settle, probably to stop me from testifying about any financial wrongdoings I witnessed or sign an NDA regarding anything about the firm. This is bigger than just an affair now." Amanda squeezed Cassandra's hand. "All the more reason to finalize your divorce and distance yourself. Then you can move on with your life, free and clear." The following day, Cassandra met Claire in a sleek conference room for mediation with Dylan's legal representatives. Dylan was conspicuously absent, sending only his attorneys to negotiate. The tension in the room was palpable. His lawyers looked worn and nervous, flipping through binders of documents. Claire maintained a calm, professional demeanor while Cassandra tried to steady her own racing heart. The lead attorney cleared his throat. "We have come to an updated agreement. Mr. Montgomery is prepared to offer a lump sum significantly higher than initially proposed, along with monthly support. Additionally, he will assign to Mrs. Montgomery the deed to the Vermont Lake House as part of the settlement. In exchange, we ask for full confidentiality regarding Mr. Montgomery's personal and professional affairs." Cassandra glanced at Claire, who nodded almost imperceptibly, as if to say, "We can push for more." Indeed, Cassandra didn't want to sign a gag order about her own experiences, but a small voice inside reminded her that the stress could harm her baby. She needed closure, stability, and peace. And so, after several hours of back-and-forth negotiations, Cassandra agreed to sign off on the condition that she retained the right to discuss personal aspects of the betrayal, her emotional narrative, her perspective, but would refrain from delving into specific financial details or proprietary firm information that could feed legal battles. It was a delicate compromise, but one that gave her the freedom to own her story of infidelity and heartbreak without getting mired in corporate secrets. When the agreements were finally typed and printed, Cassandra signed. With that stroke of a pen, the painful chapter was nearly closed. The attorneys departed to relay the outcome to Dylan. Cassandra felt a strange emptiness, as though she had expected some grand catharsis, but found only a quiet vacuum. Claire offered her a reassuring smile. You've taken an important step. Now you can focus on your child and your future. Don't underestimate the value of leaving this toxic environment behind. In the weeks that followed, Cassandra found a measure of serenity she hadn't experienced in a long time. The paparazzi interest waned as newer scandals dominated the headlines. She moved out of the penthouse. Too many memories haunted its gilded halls and temporarily stayed in a furnished apartment with stunning views of the Hudson. She also visited the Vermont lake house for a brief weekend, reconnecting with the simpler life she'd once dreamed of. The house felt like a haven, nestled in nature's tranquility, and she contemplated moving there permanently. The idea of raising her child among trees and fresh air tugged at her heart. Meanwhile, Dylan's troubles mounted. Federal agencies slapped him with investigations. His assets were frozen pending litigation, forcing him to downsize from the penthouse to a modest condo. Gossip columnists salivated over the details of his downfall, detailing how the mighty had fallen. A man who once hosted lavish parties was now scrambling for damage control, facing possible criminal charges. Cassandra occasionally wondered about Carmen, but not enough to inquire. From stray headlines, she gleaned that Carmen had relocated to Miami, presumably trying to reinvent herself and dodge the scandal's aftershocks. Good riddance, Cassandra thought, focusing instead on her own well-being. In her 7th month of pregnancy, Cassandra threw herself a small baby shower, inviting only her closest friends, Amanda, a couple of former neighbors, and some dear acquaintances from her volunteer work. They gathered in Cassandra's new apartment, admiring the warm, airy decor she'd curated. She purposely avoided the ostentatious extravagance that had characterized her life with Dylan. The baby shower was a cozy affair with pastel decorations, homemade cupcakes, and heartfelt gifts. As Cassandra opened each package, tiny outfits, soft blankets, toys, she felt a deep sense of gratitude. Despite everything, she had a strong support system. She also sensed a renewed purpose, to be the best mother possible, to create a loving home free from deception and emotional neglect. Toward the end of the shower, Amanda clinked a glass for attention. "We have a surprise," she announced, motioning for the guests to gather. "Cassandra, we all pitched in for something special." She handed over a card with a small key taped inside. "This is for a new life whenever and wherever you decide to start it." Cassandra blinked back tears as she read the card. It was a heartfelt note offering her a circle of care and encouragement. The key was symbolic, representing freedom, new beginnings, and the open door of possibility. She hugged Amanda, voice thick with emotion. "I don't know how to thank you all." Amanda grinned. "Just keep being you." That night, after all the guests had gone, Cassandra sat alone in the nursery she was setting up. She ran her fingers over a soft crib mattress, thinking about the child who would soon fill that space with life and laughter. She thought about everything she had lost: her marriage, her illusions, her old identity, and realized that in losing those things, she had gained something more precious: self-respect, autonomy, and the unwavering resolve to protect her child. It was said that karma had a way of balancing the scales. Dylan was learning that lesson the hard way, watching his empire crumble. Cassandra, meanwhile, felt that life was giving her another chance, an opportunity to rebuild on a foundation of honesty and love. And that, she decided, was the best form of justice she could ever receive. Cassandra went into labor on a crisp October morning, her hospital bag neatly packed weeks before. With each contraction, she clung to the hope that this new life would bring her the fresh start she so desperately needed. Her friend Amanda drove her to the hospital, offering calm words and steady hands while Cassandra breathed through the pain. After hours of grueling labor, a piercing newborn cry echoed in the sterile delivery room. The doctor gently placed a tiny, squirming girl in Cassandra's arms. Tears blurred Cassandra's vision as she counted her daughter's fingers and toes, overwhelmed by an immediate, unconditional love. "Welcome to the world, my sweet Lily," she whispered, naming her child after the delicate yet resilient flower. The hospital stay was a blur of nurses checking vitals, friends visiting with soft blankets, and late-night feedings, illuminated by the low glow of corridor lights. Each time Cassandra looked at Lily, she felt both her heartbreak and her hope laid bare. The scandal that had consumed her life became little more than distant noise compared to the miracle of Lily's existence. A few days after returning to her apartment, Cassandra received a letter in the mail. The spidery handwriting on the envelope belonged to Dylan. Though dread knotted her stomach, she opened it carefully. His words were brief and contrite, admitting he had lost nearly everything: his firm, his wealth, his reputation, and expressing a desperate wish to meet the daughter he had never properly acknowledged. There was no grand gesture or excuses, only a quiet plea for a chance at fatherhood. Cassandra struggled with the decision. Part of her felt that Lily deserved to know her father, but she also feared Dylan's history might cast a dark shadow. Consulting Amanda and her attorney, Cassandra ultimately agreed to a short, supervised meeting in a modest cafe near her apartment. Amanda accompanied her as a safeguard, settling at a nearby table while Cassandra waited with Lily cradled in her arms. When Dylan arrived, the man who had once been the epitome of cool confidence was now gaunt, his eyes hollow. No designer suit masked the desperation he radiated. He approached slowly, voice trembling as he spoke. "She's beautiful," he murmured, looking at Lily with a softness Cassandra hadn't seen in years. For a moment, the storm of betrayal and anger receded. All that remained was a father gazing at his newborn child. Cassandra insisted on boundaries. She explained that if he wanted a role in Lily's life, he must prove himself worthy honesty, consistency, and genuine affection, not hollow promises. Dylan, eyes wet, nodded solemnly, admitting he had let ambition and deceit destroy everything he once held dear. Their meeting was brief. Cassandra allowed Dylan to gently stroke Lily's tiny hand, but kept her daughter close. When he left, his shoulders slumped under the weight of guilt and looming legal battles. Watching him walk away, Cassandra felt a pang of sadness for the memory of who he had been, yet relief that she now stood firmly on her own. In the following weeks, Cassandra moved to her Vermont lake house, wanting Lily to grow among crisp air, quiet trees, and honest simplicity. The drama of Manhattan faded into the background. Dylan's trial proceeded, culminating in a prison sentence for financial crimes. Occasionally, Cassandra watched the headlines, but found she felt little beyond a faint melancholy at how swiftly greed and betrayal had destroyed him. Years melted into a tapestry of changing seasons in Vermont. Lily, a bright and joyful child with her mother's resilience and a laugh that echoed the clear Vermont air, thrived amidst the tranquility of their lakeside home. Cassandra, true to her early dreams, had transformed the lake house. It wasn't just a home, but a small, welcoming bed and breakfast, Lily's haven, a place of warmth and genuine connection, a far cry from the cold opulence she'd once known. She became a beloved figure in the local community, her compassion, once a quiet strength, now a beacon. The glossy magazines and high society whispers were replaced by the gentle hum of a life lived authentically. Dylan, after serving his sentence, emerged a broken man, his name a cautionary tale whispered in financial circles. He made a few tentative attempts to reconnect with Lily, supervised and brief, but the chasm of his past actions was too wide to truly bridge. Cassandra, while never unkind, maintained firm boundaries, always prioritizing Lily's emotional well-being and peaceful world. Her true justice wasn't Dylan's ruin, but her own flourishing, the quiet, daily triumph of building a life filled with love, integrity, and profound peace on the ashes of betrayal. Lily, Her greatest treasure was a daily, vibrant reminder that even from the deepest heartbreak, the most beautiful new beginnings could bloom, stronger and more radiant than before. Thank you for joining us on this emotional roller coaster of heartbreak, scandal, and redemption. Cassandra's journey reminds us that sometimes we must face our darkest fears to protect what truly matters. When fortune and ambition blind us, karma has a way of restoring balance, often in the harshest manner possible. In the end, Cassandra discovered her own strength, finding peace in a new life far from the glittering illusions of high society, determined to create a future filled with love for her child. If Cassandra's journey from a gilded cage to a life of authentic joy resonated with you, if you believe in the power of truth, resilience, and the beautiful justice of a life well lived after the storm, then please show your support. Give this video a thumbs up, share it with friends who enjoy a dramatic tale with a satisfying sense of justice. And don't forget to subscribe to this channel for more captivating stories that prove truth can be stranger and far more powerful than fiction. We're dedicated to bringing you more tales where karma isn't just a concept, but a powerful force, and where the human spirit proves its incredible capacity to overcome. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.